28 Years Later was a good movie until it wasn't, so let's talk about it. But as always, before we get started, if you're new here, my name is Erin and I talk all things movies and TV, but really mostly movies, so if you're into that sort of thing, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me. And also, while you're at it, if you like my videos, hit that like button as well. And of course, if you've already seen the movie, let me know your thoughts on it down below in the comments. But without further ado, let's talk about 28 Years Later. So I'm actually kind of new to this franchise. I actually watched 28 Days and 28 Weeks Later leading up to this movie, so I'm kind of approaching this review with a fresh set of eyes and as someone who doesn't really have an attachment to this franchise. But the third entry in this franchise is actually supposed to be the start of a brand new trilogy, and the second movie has already been shot and is set to come out in January, I believe. Anyways, in 28 Years Later, we follow a young boy named Spike who is played by Alfie Willaims, and he lives on this island that's connected to the mainland where the infected are. And after going to the mainland for the first time with his father, who is played by Erin Johnson, he soon returns on his own with his sick mother in order to find a doctor that may be able to help her get better. Jumping right into the good, and the first thing I have here are the performances. This was just an extremely well-acted movie overall, and our main cast consisted of Alfie Willaims, Erin Johnson, Jodie Comer, and Fiennes. For both Erin Johnson and Jodie Comer, they turned in solid performances as expected, but it was really Alfie Willaims who stole the show here. He gave probably one of the best child performances that I've seen in a while. At the end of the day, he was just a boy who wanted to save his mom, and even though he didn't have the skills to go on this long journey with her in order to find this doctor, he went anyways, and in his performance you see that fear, but you also see that love that he has for his mother, and that's what made him strong on this journey of him essentially going from boy to man in this movie. Both him and Jodie Comer were great together, and their mother-son relationship served as the heart of this film. Then of course it goes without saying, but Fiennes, who is good in just about everything he is in, was once again a joy to watch on screen in this one. So yes, even though I do think this movie has its problems, the acting wasn't one of them. Next up for the good is the cinematography, and this is one of those films that's just fun to look at, and I could just look at this thing to look at it all day long. There was a bunch of wide landscaping shots that I thought were really beautiful, and then you add that on to the editing of this film and it just makes for a very stylistic movie. But what surprised me the most is that this movie was shot on a bunch of iPhones, and that just makes this cinematography even more impressive. And this is something that I found out after watching this movie, but if someone would have came up to me and told me that this movie was shot on an ARRI, a Red, or a Sony Venice, I would have 100% believed them because that's just how good this movie looks visually. Now I know that iPhone was probably rigged out to the max, but I just had no clue that iPhone footage had the capability of looking that good. I mean, I'm shooting this video on an FX3, which is a camera that is not only way more expensive than an iPhone, but has 20 times the capability of an iPhone. So props to the director, Danny Boyle, because he proved with this movie that if you know what you're doing, then gear does not matter. And the last thing I have for the good is the action slash, I guess, zombie killing we got in this movie. It was a little bit more action heavy in the first half of the movie, and what we got from that I thought was really good. They did a really good job at building up the tension in those scenes using sound, and then they did not hold back on the blood and gore at all. So if you came to this movie wanting to see a lot of blood and gore, then you are in good hands because this movie delivers on that aspect. There was also some very creative editing during those scenes as well, which again gave those action scenes a sense of style. Moving on to the so-so, and this is kind of one of my biggest gripes with the movie almost, is that the first 40 minutes of this thing were awesome. I mean, near perfection, I wouldn't change a thing, and I was loving what I was seeing in those first 40 minutes. Until I wasn't. After those first 40 minutes, this movie was kind of all over the place tonally and started to lose its way. It was just a completely different film in that second half of the movie compared to what we got in the first. It just felt like everything they did in the first 40 minutes of this thing that made this movie great, they just completely threw out in the second half. I mean, Erin Johnson was just non-existent after those first 40 minutes, and I definitely expected him to be in this film a lot more than he was. On top of that, even the editing was a little bit different in the second half. In the first half of this movie, they were kind of intercutting these random B-roll shots to help enhance the story, but once we got past those first 40 minutes, that just kind of went away completely and they stopped that. Also, and this just may be a me thing, but I thought that big emotional moment that they had at the end of the movie with Jodie Comer's character didn't really hit like I think it could have, because I thought the purpose of the story in the second half of the movie was pretty incoherent. Don't get me wrong, I don't mind the journey that Jodie Comer and Alfie Willaims' character went on in this thing. It just felt like it didn't lead to anything at the end of the day, and that was kind of what was underwhelming and disappointing for me with this film. And finally, getting into the bad, and the only thing I have here is that this has to be one of the most wackiest, weirdest endings that I have ever seen in a movie. It was so different tonally from the rest of the film that it just felt like it came out of left field, and my least favorite part about this ending is that this movie already had a solid ending from the scene just before it, so this scene just kind of felt like it was tacked on. Now, I'll admit that there was a small part of me that kind of liked it because it did remind me of Power Rangers, and I love me some Power Rangers. I mean, just look behind me here. I have a whole pop of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. We have Tommy right here, RIP, Jason David Frank. But at the end of the day, that ending just felt weird for this movie. So for my final thoughts, this movie has a lot of good in it. The performances, cinematography, and action were really well done. This thing gets off to a hot start, but falls off and loses its way in the second half, which is really disappointing. So for me, this just turned out to be an average movie. Those are my thoughts on 28 Years Later. Be sure to let me know what you thought of the movie down in the comments. And as always, be sure to like, subscribe, comment, get your Eazy Apparel at shop easyapparel.com. God bless, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.